A legacy rekindled, redemption, revelation, and reunion in Port Charles. Port Charles has always been a place where family ties are tested, broken, and, when fate allows, mended through trials that stretch the soul and time that heals wounds thought permanent. And now, in one of the most emotionally charged turnarounds the Corinthos clan has ever witnessed, a moment of forgiveness, acceptance, and reconciliation has transformed a fractured family into one that stands stronger than ever. For Giovanni, Gio, Cerullo, the journey to peace wasn't linear. The past few months had been an emotional crucible, one shaped by abandonment, silence, and the gut-wrenching realization that his biological father, Detective Dante Falconeri, had known about his existence but remained absent. Gio had grown up in the shadow of questions unanswered, aching for truth but terrified of what that truth would cost him. Raised by a loving but overprotective single mother, he never quite fit the image of the traditional Corinthos bloodline. He had always felt like the boy left behind. But sometimes, pain is the very thing that leads us back to where we belong. Dante, for his part, had never stopped carrying the weight of his choices. The man who had served the badge with loyalty, who had risked his life countless times for the city, now found himself helpless in the face of personal regret. The revelation that he had a son, one he had unknowingly left behind, struck him harder than any bullet ever could. At first, Gio's presence ignited a flame of resistance, but over time, the echoes of shared blood and the unmistakable signs of legacy could no longer be denied. Dante knew he couldn't rewrite the past, but he could shape the future. And for a man like Dante, that meant taking accountability, no matter how late. The moment of forgiveness came not in a grand gesture but in something far more human: honesty. When Dante looked Gio in the eye and admitted his failures, his blind spots, and his remorse, Gio was faced with a decision that would change the course of both their lives. And rather than meet pain with more pain, he chose empathy. Gio, still finding his own place in the world, offered his father a chance, a bridge across the years. He didn't pretend the wounds weren't there, but he was willing to heal them, together. Meanwhile, Sonny Corinthos, the family's patriarch and a man both feared and revered in equal measure, was presented with another reality altogether. In the past, Sonny had welcomed many into the family, sometimes through blood, often through loyalty. But this time was different. The revelation that Gio was his grandson, a living, breathing extension of his son Dante, struck Sonny with equal parts surprise and pride. Sonny, hardened by decades of betrayal and violence, rarely allowed himself to be vulnerable. But the first time he saw Gio, there was no hesitation. There was recognition. A fire in the boy's eyes, a quiet strength in his posture. It all mirrored the very things Sonny had hoped his lineage would carry on. For a man who had lost so much, Morgan, his marriage, the illusion of peace, this newfound connection was a gift Sonny didn't expect. The embrace was not just a symbol of acceptance. It was Sonny's way of saying, "You belong." And that meant everything to Gio, who had spent a lifetime wondering if there was a place he could finally call home. But the beauty of this story didn't lie in individual reconciliations alone. It culminated in something far grander, the reunion of a family long divided by secrecy, pride, and fear. One by one, familiar faces found their way back. Olivia Falconeri, fiercely protective and often the voice of raw truth, embraced her grandson with open arms, tears streaming down her face as years of uncertainty dissolved into joy. Brooke Lynn Quartermain, Gio's cousin, musician, and newfound confidant, bridged generational gaps with warmth and laughter. And even those whose paths had diverged in bitterness, like Michael and Christina, felt the pull of something greater than personal grudges. They came together not because everything was perfect, but because family, in all its messy complexity, was still worth fighting for. At a quiet gathering in Sonny's newly restored estate, the Corinthos family came together under one roof, not for business, not for funerals, but for love. The dinner table, often a battleground of unspoken resentments, became a place of communion. Laughter echoed where silence once reigned. Hands were held. Memories were shared. And in the center of it all sat Gio, no longer a boy seeking belonging, but a young man embraced by a legacy larger than himself. What makes this chapter in the Corinthos saga so powerful is not just the high-stakes drama or the emotional payoffs. It's the rare and beautiful truth it reveals, that no matter how far we drift, how deeply we hurt, or how long we hide, redemption is never out of reach. Forgiveness is possible. Love, complicated, tested, and rebuilt, can still win. And for Dante, Sonny, and Gio, this isn't the end of their story. It's the beginning of a new one, written not in secrets and regrets, but in the language of second chances. In a town where tomorrow is never promised, they found something worth holding onto: each other.